What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Wash Kings podcast, the show where a couple of cousins talk hoops, the NBA, and keep you updated on everything you need to know about the Denver Nuggets. I'm your host, Cam Kennedy, in Denver, Colorado. I was a little bit shorthanded today, but it turns out we have K-Bear calling in from England. Kennedy Phillips touring England with his fiance. Ken, what's up, man?
It's 1:30 a.m. and I figured why not hop on for a little bit. So I'm here. I'm
That's
drinking
dedication.
some scotch. I'm on with the boys. So hello.
We appreciate you, man. It's good to see you. But I have also my coastal reps on opposite ends of the country. PK, Patrick Kennedy, who's out in East North Carolina, back from New York. Pat, how's it going?
I'm good. Speaking of New York, I mean, the New York City is so immense. I mean, it's obvious to why they have so many different sports teams, and it's a city to where it makes Denver look so small. And there's a reason there's only one basketball team in Denver. So happy to be on the podcast tonight.
Would love to make it out to New York at some point with the boys. And then we have Evan Kennedy, out in Seattle. Ev, how's it going?
Good. I'm not going to wear these the whole time, but
St. Patrick's Day.
Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
We got to have some festive attitude here.
Everybody's got their green, right?
Sort of. No K-Bear green.
I see it on the skyline. I see it on the hat.
It's valid.
There you go. Matt's got his. And then we're also here with producer Matty Ice, Matthew Hinnon, always with us, keeping us on track and on the technical sides of things. We appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here. We are not yet sponsored, but crossing our fingers that someday we earn a sponsorship from Dude Wipes, because Dude Wipes are the best clean pants down. And guys, after the week that the Nuggets just had, we're going to need a couple thousand wipes at least to clean up that mess. We have a great show for you all this week, albeit a sort of a negative one, as the Nuggets are not inspiring much confidence in the fans right now. We're going to go over this past week's games, as well as everyone's big takeaway from these past week's games. Jokic's concerning comments after the worst loss of the season on Saturday. And then we're going to talk about some of the teams that we do not want to see in the playoffs by any means, just in the Western Conference. And finally, we're going to be previewing this upcoming week's games, what the Nuggets need to do to be a serious contender, and a bit of a preview of tonight's game versus Golden State. Maybe not so much on that Golden State part of it, because Jokic, Murray, and Christian Brown are out tonight. So we can almost probably chalk that one up as a guaranteed L. But you never know. You never know.
Well, the Lakers gave us a run for our money shorthanded, so.
That's true. Sure. That's true. You never know. Zeke Naji legacy game tonight, or maybe Jalen Pickett just goes crazy, right?
Why not?
I know. Why not us?
Blacko is back, so you never know.
And weirdly enough, AG's playing.
The Blacko game one day.
Like the 7. Could be the new 7, right?
Yeah, that's odd that you said
guys.
AG's playing.
Yeah, isn't that funny? I mean, we're resting all of our guys, but AG's playing, the guy that we're like most worried about his health. But if he feels like he's good to go.
And then last episode, we were saying like we probably need to manage his load the most.
Yeah, no, I think so too. But for some reason, he's going tonight. But let's get into it, fellas. We're gonna start our segment 1. Guys, on the inaugural show last week, we mentioned how the Nuggets needed a statement win against a good team. That was something that we all wanted to see. And as we were recording, they were beating OKC, and they ended up beating them. And it was pretty encouraging. It was definitely the best win of the season. But what they followed that up with was getting absolutely pounded and embarrassed on Wednesday night by the Minnesota Timberwolves, scrapping by with a last-second win versus the zombie Lakers on Friday night, who was missing their entire starting lineup except for Austin Reeves, and then losing for the second time this season to the worst team in the NBA, worst team in the sport, the Washington Wizards, at home. Pat, I'm going to start with you. What is your biggest takeaway on the Nuggets in the week that they just had?
You know, and going into this week, and DNVR, one of our favorite podcasts that we're kind of inspired by, said that this week is statement week. And, you know, we had the first starting with the Minnesota Timberwolves, then going to the Lakers, and then obviously finishing with what should be a freebie with the Wizards. And so we started with, obviously, Minnesota, and previously in recent matchups, they've had our number, and we honestly got embarrassed by them. obviously got outplayed defensively, total effort wise. We got beat, and so going into the next game versus Lakers, should have been a freebie win. Granted, um, Luka was out, LeBron was out, and so it should have been a game that we win by 15 to 20 points. And then ends up being a really close game. Thought we were going to lose that one. Jamal saves the day by hitting a game-winning shot. We end up winning the game, and still didn't feel good about the game. And then we go into the next game. That's the Wizards. Same thing. Should be a game that we win. We're up early, and then going down the stretch, end up losing on a game winner by Poole, and it's just absolutely the worst losses of the season, especially as you were mentioning before the game against OKC, which might have been our best game of the season, our best win of the season. And so to see this team go up and down and up and down with wins against good teams and then losses against bad teams, you just question what this team is about overall.
They've been consistently up and down. I think the roller coaster ride that they put us on this year is the best way to describe it. Matt and I were together Saturday night when the Wizards game ended, and we were out drinking, celebrating St. Patty's Day with everybody. But we were glued to the television, and everyone we were with could care less. But it was like me, one of our other buddies, and Matt just watching the TV. And when Jordan Poole hit that game winner 40 feet out, we didn't crash out, but we wanted to. But we kept our composure, but it sucked. Ken, what did you think about this week and how just awful it was?
I mean, right after that, they fought really hard 2 games against OKC. They didn't look great, but I thought that they showed some heart. They didn't want to get their teeth kicked in. They didn't want to be embarrassed. And I was like, crap, they play the Timberwolves. Like, we just don't match up well. I feel like they just little boy us like every time since the playoffs, and I don't know. That was a tough game to watch. That was probably the only one last week I've really been able to like sit down and watch. And it's one of those games you sit down and watch it, and you're like, why am I watching this team right now? Like, it's just painful to watch. And then I checked in on their game against the Wizards once I landed on my layover, which is weird because it was like a really weird time. But I was like, oh, the Nuggets just wrapped up. And I just couldn't believe they lost to the Wizards. That was a game I couldn't watch. But watch the highlights and seeing Jordan Poole hitting them with like the smelly, like pointing at the bench, and
It's a pool
just
party.
painful, dude. Just painful. But it's like, this is kind of who the Nuggets have shown us that they are this year. They can string together a few games and get you to believe, and then just like embarrass you and make you feel like a terrible person for being a fan of them. Like, it's this kind of back and forth that I feel like we felt it a little bit in the past, but like this week was a total like roller coaster, as you guys have been kind of saying. So, I mean, the Lakers game as well. That was when I actually could kind of sit down and watch as well before I left for my flight. That's right, I forgot about that one. But it's just like, I couldn't name 3 Lakers on the court at one point in the game. Like, I don't know who these guys are. And maybe I just don't know ball like I used to. But I'm like, who are these dudes besides Austin Reeves? I mean, no Rui, no Luca, no LeBron. So, again,
It was
they
the
pull that one
Dalton
out.
Connect and Austin Reeves show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Austin
So
Reeves
they
acting
pull
like
out
he
those.
was LeBron that night.
I mean, he looked like the best player on the
Dude,
court.
Reeves is good.
Yeah.
Reeves
Yeah.
is good. Like, I
Yeah.
can't believe the kind of jump he's taking. So, when he was cooking us, I was like, okay, this makes sense. But the fact that we couldn't get any stops against Dalton Connect for real, I was like, what are we doing? So have same sentiments as these guys. How did this week feel for you?
Yeah, totally. I think it's just like discouraging, and maybe it's the fact that it's raining so much here today, but it's kind of depressing. Um, like, you want to believe that this team will ramp up and be ready for the playoffs. You want to believe that they can just like turn that switch on and just go on a run. Um, and how many games are left? Like 15, something like that. And
14 games left.
14. even worse. And I don't know. It's probably good that like our main guys are out tonight. Just give them some rest, let them like recalibrate a little bit. It's fascinating that we're still in second place right now. Because I think the general sentiment among the fans is that everything's like way worse than it really is. Which I think can be telling on its own. Like we're objectively not in a bad place, but I think the sentiment that everyone's alluding to in like other media that I consume, uh, which is basically just DNVR. Everybody is pessimistic. Everybody's feeling like everyone's exhausted. We know that Jokic is getting upset, so that's not going to go well because when he starts to get pissed, then you know something's wrong. So I'm just hoping that we can get some rest. Malone can start playing some bench guys, and we can get some more trust in them. But I worry that that ship has sailed. It's getting kind of late, and I don't know if we have enough in the tank. So
The
we'll see.
problem is with the rest and sort of what you're talking about is I would love to do that, but they've kind of put themselves in a position where seating now is up in the air. Like we have no
Yeah.
idea where they're going to be seated. There's a lot of
Kind of like
cluster from
last year.
2 to
Yeah.
6. Yeah, so they're going to have to sprint through the finish line again, and that makes me feel even worse about the playoffs.
Well, and
But
we have a couple of opponents that
yeah,
we know that we can't really step up to. Like, just
it's a
imagine
tough
if we
schedule.
end up playing the Timberwolves in the playoffs. I think we'll get smoked.
I think we would lose in the first round if that ended up happening. And we're going to
Yeah.
talk about that in later segments. But my takeaway is similar to you guys. I just honestly, and I don't want to be too declarative and too down, but I just don't think they're a contender as it sits right now.
No.
We know what a Jokic-led offense can do, but this team couldn't guard a traffic cone. They are so disconnected on that end. They have the 22nd ranked defense in the league. They are behind the Charlotte Hornets this season in defensive rating, which is a true stat. The Trailblazers, the Kings, championships teams don't have uh, this bad of a defense in the regular season. And this is
Yeah.
just one of the worst weeks of Nuggets basketball that I can remember in a long time. How do you lose to the Wizards at home, allow 126 points? I mean, that's just really disheartening. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of disturbing losses this year for the Nuggets. Their defense is awful. I don't trust them to make stops when they need to. And I think they're going to get exposed pretty badly on the defensive end in the playoffs, regardless of who they play. But this does lead us to our next topic. Let's talk about what Jokic said after this loss, which might be the most concerning part of this all. Because we know that Jokic doesn't lie. He's very practical. He's very logical. He says what he's feeling at pressers. I don't think he really tries to sugarcoat things, and I don't think he really cares or even knows what he's saying. Sometimes he just says what he's thinking. And here's the quote. He said, "I think who you are in the regular season, that's who you are in the playoffs. I think you cannot flip a switch," is how he said it. Um, I think Jokic knows that the Nuggets don't have what it takes to be, this year to win it. I think he's telling us indirectly that they are not on the level of an OKC, a Boston, or Cleveland, probably even teams like Golden State, Los Angeles, and Minnesota, if you really look at it. I think he knows they're lacking in a lot of areas, whether that's depth, wing depth, scoring off the bench. Jamal and MPJ can disappear at times as two max contract players. AG's been hurt a lot. So I feel like our expectations need to be a little bit tempered going into the playoffs, and I think we're at that realization right now. But what did you guys think of Jokic's comments on the after the in that presser after the Wizards game?
Yeah, I just think that Jokic is finally speaking up. I mean, he's usually a guy that leads by example, right? And so he's usually someone not necessarily goes through the motions of playing the right um, brand of basketball, but also he leads by example in the way that he carries himself, goes into a press conference, never gets too high, never gets too low. Um, but when we get after a bad loss, he will speak his mind, and I feel like he did do that after the Washington game. And I think it was good for not only us fans to hear it, but also the other guys in the locker room to hear Jokic is down on these guys, and he knows that they can do better. And I think he's now challenging these guys to pick it up. I mean, we got embarrassed in statement week. 3 games that we really should have won. Um, However, we just got outplayed in all facets of the game. And so I think Jokic really believes that we can figure something out and Like you said, I mean, he doesn't always know what he's saying in a press conference per se, but I don't know. It's so hard to really read what he's saying at some times, but I think
He
it's good
might be
overall for
more
the guys.
directed in these comments. Yeah, like he actually
I
might
agree.
be a little bit more than we think. Sometimes I think he just is sort of like, I don't know whether that's him being like Serbian and stuff. Like he just kind of says what he's thinking about. But
Exactly.
Ken, before you get off, I know you're going to be with us for the first segment. Does Jokic's comments make you feel worse? Because they made me feel a lot worse. I'm not going to lie.
I've kind of gone back and forth. I think as Nuggets fans, we like to try to peek into the mindset of who Jokic is and what he thinks and like messages he's trying to convey. But I think historically, if you look at kind of what he's saying, he's just honest. He's pretty blunt, and I think that he probably is. Again, this is us playing psyche for Yoke, but like I think he's frustrated. I think that this is kind of him, as Pat was saying, trying to send a message. I think that it's a little confusing for me because this was not the mindset the year they ended up winning the championship. When the last 8 to 10 games, they just kind of said whatever. And I think it was even like Aaron Gordon was saying stuff about we're going to be able to flip that switch come playoff time, and they did. And then last year we had the same kind of thought, oh, they can finish out the year or whatever, and then playoffs, and they looked like crap against the Lakers, and then they got shown up by Minnesota, and that's kind of those two matchups this year have not been great. I think Yoke's frustrated. I think he's hoping this can kind of fire up guys like Jamal and MPJ, and hopefully he can get that going. But as Pat's talking, it's also like Jokic as a leader is by example, um, and he's awesome. He's the best player in the league, and he carries himself in a certain way. But I think the team doesn't know. I mean, we can't have a team full of Jokic's in terms of their attitude and their mindset and everything. And as great it is for him as an individual, like I think it's hard for a team to go about the day to day getting all fired up because Jokic isn't like the getting fired up type of guy. So I don't question his leadership, but I think that he used to be a little bit more reliant on Jamal as kind of the heartbeat. And I don't want to point fingers at Jamal for everything, but I also think that that's something that Jamal has done in the past, you know. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, at least.
Yeah, I agree. Ev, any thoughts on Jokic's comments?
Yeah, I think the thing that struck me is I think this is one of those rude awakening type of games where, like, hopefully, I hope they're sitting and they're questioning whether or not they're real contenders or like a legit team at this point. Like, I hope they're looking at the rankings and going like, I don't know how we did that, because I think they need to wake up a little bit and kind of kick their asses into gear. And so I think when Jokic takes that, you know, takes a stand like that at a press conference, I think that's his way of like expressing frustration and being like, guys, we got to wake the fuck up. Um, pardon that, Matt. Hopefully you can bleep that. um, we can edit that out. But um, I think Jokic is doing the right thing by speaking out. I think this team is just playing kind of like half-assed, for lack of a better word. So I think somebody needs to step in and like kick the guys into gear. And it's funny, like I feel like the vibe check on this team is kind of poor. You know, like I think Jamal and guys like that are just playing not lazy, but like they just seem kind of checked out. You know, so I think our number one needs to kick everyone into gear and get their
Right.
get something going. There's no fire. I'm not feeling the fire this year, so I need to see that, and I hope that this game woke everyone up a little bit.
I need this team to show some
Yeah, the vibes are
balls, man.
definitely off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Show that
show
you
some
care,
heart,
right?
please.
We
Yeah.
do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because we know
All right.
we know what they can do when they're actually like when they actually care. Like Jamal when he plays the
Right.
Lakers, like dude just wakes up. But
Yeah.
we need to have that most of the time, not just against certain teams or certain matchups. So
Right.
I also wonder.
We
I
we got to
wonder
get
if it's.
into a break real quick.
Go ahead.
Pat, hold that thought. We'll get you after the break. Ken, thank you for being here. We appreciate you, man. Enjoy the rest of your trip. It's good to hear from you. Glad you surprised the boys.
I'm rocking my Nuggets Nation out here in England and soon to be France. So I'll be rocking it and supporting the boys from afar. But thanks for having me
Yes,
on
sir.
for a little bit.
Bon voyage.
Enjoy it, man. We'll talk
Thanks,
to you next
Ken.
week, okay? Have fun.
Paddington Bear,
Okay.
baby.
All right, Ev. I think we got an ad break for you.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more Nuggets talk. Thanks for listening.
So, the Wash Kings podcast is sponsored by Dude Wipes. All right, Nuggets fans, let's talk about cleaning up in the clutch. And no, we're not talking about Jokic dropping another triple-double. We're talking about Dude Wipes, the MVP of bathroom hygiene. Look, let's be real. Regular toilet paper, that's playing drop coverage. It's slow, inefficient, and it's letting way too much get by. But Dude Wipes, that's elite defense for your backside. Quick, effective, and wipes the competition off the floor. And you don't have to take our word for it, because guess who's a big fan of Dude Wipes? The two-time MVP himself. That's actually 3, Nikola Jokic. Jokic was quoted the other day as saying, regular toilet paper? No good. Dude Wipes, very nice. Very clean, like good passing, always smooth. And you heard the man. Whether you're fresh off a long night at Ball Arena, a pickup run at the gym, or just recovering from some questionable halftime nachos, Dude Wipes is the fast break your backside needs. So don't settle for bad shots or bad hygiene. Upgrade to Dude Wipes today and experience MVP level freshness. Because if it's good enough for Jokic, it's good enough for you. Pick up Dude Wipes today at your local store or online. Trust us, your backside will thank you. Dude Wipes, for champions only.
And we're back. Ev, I got to be honest. I didn't know Jokic was a Dude Wipe fan.
I think
It
that was
makes
part
sense,
of his
though.
presser the other day. I
Yeah.
think the media just
Mhm.
forgot to report on it. So
I think so too. It kind of went under the radar, didn't it?
yeah, he was like, "Bro, I need a dude wipe after that game."
I think we all did, man. Oh God. All right, fellas. We are in segment 2. You're listening to the Wash Kings podcast. We are going to be talking about some teams that we absolutely do not want to face in the playoffs, and this is just going to be Western Conference teams. This show, I was going to say, with Kennedy coming on and everything, this is the show that has a healthy, or should I say unhealthy, obsession with Paddington the Bear. Pat, I think you might be the one to blame for that, but having Kennedy on was a reminder.
Absolutely.
All right. I think that loss against Minnesota on Wednesday night was so damning in a lot of ways because that was the 5th time in a row that they had beat the Nuggets, dating back to the semifinal, Western Conference semifinal last year. They're just way more physical. Denver plays them soft. They have our number, yada, yada, yada. But when we consider teams like that, let's talk about some teams that we would just not love to see at all. I think we can just kind of comb through the standings a little bit. But there's one, I kind of ranked mine a little bit just so we can talk about like 5 of them. But to me, the 5th one would be the Memphis Grizzlies, who are currently the 4 seed. Any thoughts on that? I mean, we don't cover that much Grizzlies here or watch that much Grizzlies, but they're not a team that I'm exactly worried about. To me, there's like 4 teams for sure that I'm worried about.
Yeah, and I'll start. I mean, that was number 1 on my list, honestly. And obviously, looking back on this past week when we wanted a statement win, obviously we couldn't get that against Minnesota. And so this is a team that defensively has done well against Jokic and a ton of previous matchups. And they've had our number recently as well. I mean, it just seems like they're the team that plays us the best, I feel like. As well as like I said, like they just rise to the occasion when they play the Nuggets. Like nothing seems out of their
They
range
want
when they
that
play the
game.
Nuggets. They want that game.
They want that game
more
every
than
time.
exactly, and it's kind of frustrating as a fan because like going into the game that the Wolves want it more than us, and they'll outplay you in all facets of the game, as I mentioned before, and it's just really frustrating. And so, looking at the standings right now, they are the 7th seed, and so if we were to end the season right now, we would play the Warriors, who are the 6th seed. However, Minnesota's in for that play-in game, and so they very well might grab that 6th seed
It could be a
if.
first round, man. It could be the first round matchup, which would be
And
terrifying.
I really, like you said, it is terrifying. So I'm curious to see what you think, Abdog.
I I think the Timberwolves are easily my like, I don't know, the team that I'm most afraid of.
That's my
Like
number
as I
one
look,
for sure too. Yeah.
yeah, like I don't know. I feel like even like we figured out Oklahoma City the other day, right? Like they're a huge threat and they scare the hell out of me, but at least we've proven that we could kind of figure it out. Um, and like I don't know, we don't seem to talk about the Rockets or the Grizzlies or even Golden State all that much. Um, but yeah, like I think I think Minnesota just sort of has that energy that Jamal has when we play the Lakers. Like they are just they want to kill us every time. They have something to prove. So I'm most afraid of them. I think I'm afraid of the Lakers now. I wouldn't have said that a few weeks ago, because I think we
I was
had
gonna
it
say
figured out. Yeah.
I have a list. We'll go through and we'll talk about each team. So hold
Yeah.
that thought on the
All
Lakers,
right.
because they're definitely high on mine too. But just to finish the Minnesota point, that's my number one. I didn't mean to start out of order. I'm going to go through 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Minnesota would be one for all of us, it seems like, and probably you too, Matt. I'm sure. But maybe not. Preview.
I'm gonna
Preview
butt
ahead.
in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Voice of God. I'm gonna say the Lakers. And to be completely fair, I think everybody, in these matchups is gonna. We've already seen it. It's already been proven. That Minnesota is going to be, hellacious. Oklahoma City probably won't get there unless we get to the conference finals, but they're a hellacious team for the Nuggets to play right now, just looking at the standings. And to be honest, if we play LA, I don't have a ton of confidence. They haven't instilled a ton of confidence. Yeah, Jamal Murray's a Laker killer, and we've proven that we can basically just barely hang on. It's a new Laker team.
Right.
We've proven that we can just barely hang on with the Lakers this season. And with this team,
with all their guys out,
and what they're going off of, how many heartbreaks, how many losses to the Nuggets, that team's gonna be hungry. And LeBron wasn't playing, Luka wasn't playing. We squeaked by on last Friday, on the 14th. So I'm gonna say the Lakers, just because I think it's a little bit more of a, them and Minnesota are kind of who we're looking to eye down, if the rest of the season kind of goes to plan. But I think the Lakers are a team that the Nuggets aren't gonna get by.
Yeah.
It's like we beat a Laker. Yeah, we beat it. Go ahead.
Either one, whoever.
No, sorry. Sorry.
Go ahead,
yeah,
Pat.
I just feel like we beat a bunch of. You're good.
No.
I just feel like we beat a Lakers team of a bunch of guys that were just wearing Lakers jerseys, other than Reeves and Connect, that obviously destroyed us shooting wise. But it's just, I cannot believe that. I mean, we did ultimately win that game, but I feel like we lost that game in the end. Against a bunch of guys that really shouldn't have. I mean, they almost beat us, and that might have been almost as bad as of a loss as it would have been against the Wizards.
Yeah.
Have your thoughts?
And I think, yeah, I think we all understand that Laker fans and Nuggets fans probably have the most amount of hatred in the Western Conference.
Nuggets fans for sure. I don't know about the Lakers side. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the vibe I get, like on Reddit, for instance, is that Laker fans kind of hate us back, and I'm sure they hate us for like
probably
all the embarrassment that. Yeah, and I mean they don't do well against us in the playoffs, so I think they have a vendetta out for us on it, and I think they're in a really good position to actually do something about it now, and I don't know. I think they're just going to play hard, and honestly, I'm terrified that they'll come in and just smoke us in a playoff series, and then we'll never hear the end of it, because that's just how it goes with them. So
they got rejuvenated.
I think they have everything to gain at this point. Yeah,
they did.
So.
I mean,
I really do.
Yeah, that Luka trade did so much, and there's still some conspiracies out there about how that all happened, but that's a show for another time. But when we played them almost a month ago, they beat. Remember, they beat us bad. They beat us by 23, and that was a fully healthy Lakers team against our fully
Yeah.
healthy. We might have had someone out, but still. And then they go and compete against us like that with Austin Reeves and Dalton Connect, and those guys are good players, solid players, but they shouldn't be able to cook you that much. So the Nuggets defense is just super concerning. To me, the Lakers was the third team I had listed. I went Grizzlies 5. I actually had the Warriors at 4. They're the current 6 seed. We're about to play them tonight, which we're going to preview a little bit later. They've been on these crazy runs. We have some stats for you guys later. But does anyone have any? At 5 I had the Grizzlies. Minnesota was at 1 for me. It was, which is the team I just least likely want to see.
Yeah.
I said Grizzlies at 5, Minnesota at 1. I think you're mixing it up. Yeah. They similar. But the Lakers are
hate
at
the
3 to me.
Minnesota Grizzlies.
The Minnesota Grizzlies. I might be saying it wrong too. I don't know. But we we're facing the Warriors tonight, but we're not obviously going to see a real game because we have everybody sitting. But I have not watched much Warriors this season, especially since the Jimmy Butler trade. I know that they've improved quite a bit since they got Butler, but to me, that championship pedigree, Draymond Green, Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler now, like that makes you a little worried, especially with them playing as well as they have been. That's a team that I would not like to see right now as it currently sits. So I don't know if you guys have any Warriors thoughts. I know we're gonna talk about the Warriors a little bit more later, but
I think my thought on that would be, isn't it funny that other teams rejuvenated at the trade deadline? And we didn't
yeah,
really do anything. Like we just we said we're gonna
fair.
stick to our guns, which is cool and all, but it feels like other teams have just been completely re-energized. And
I think, yeah,
I don't know. I wonder if that's a misstep by ownership and the front office. Like
I,
I don't
yeah.
know. It
I
seems like
think
we're running out of gas when everyone else is peaking.
right. I think they didn't want to jump the gun too soon. Like I think they wanted to give this team one more run to see what they had because they won a championship. So I think they were saying, we got our core 4. What can they do for us this year? And then these are conversations we can have later, depending on how the playoffs go. But what are we going to do post this edition of the rendition of the Nuggets if they
Hmm.
fall short? But Pat, you have any thoughts on that?
No, yeah, I had the similar thought, Evan, the other day, and it's like,
Yeah.
these teams that are fine, like given the Warriors, like we said, who are playing now, is they've rejuvenated. Now they're kind of making a run for kind of a serious spot now into the playoffs, and now they're a serious contender, and now a
I will
threat to the
say, I think they
Nuggets.
were pretty desperate, the Warriors.
They were desperate, but I
I
mean,
think they had to
at
do
this,
something.
yeah,
They
but at
did.
the same time, don't you think, in a sense, you could say the Nuggets had to do something? And I think at one point, all of us Nuggets fans thought that we had to do something. Maybe we had to get rid of MPJ, although he's a fan
Well,
favorite. But
yeah,
I mean,
Porter was
maybe
the
we should
yeah.
have. And in spite of those talks, like Porter did start playing well, and like maybe that's why the front offices didn't do anything come trade deadline. But now I'm wondering, with MPJ not playing as well, like should we have done something? I'm just curious to see your guys' thoughts on that. With maybe should we have done anything with MPJ? I personally like him. However, like
Yeah.
for the run for this year, should we have done anything?
We'll keep this quick thoughts on what Pat just asked. I'm just gonna say, in my opinion, I understand why they didn't jump the gun here and wanted to see this out with this core that they have, despite their issues. And we can definitely argue that they could have made some better decisions. Come trade deadline, they didn't do anything. I understand the thinking of keeping Porter, just to see what this team has. Uh, so I guess time will tell. But Ev, what do you think? Do you think they should have done something?
Um, God, it's so hard to say. Like, I want to believe in Porter so badly, man, but um, I don't know. I don't know what the alternative would have been, to be completely honest. Like, I think he would have been the highest trade stock value, but I don't really know what we would have brought in to like make anything better, you know? I don't know if you guys feel like there was like a team or like a certain player we could have bargained for,
Honestly,
or
I don't think so. I mean, there was a
yeah,
few names out there. There was like Zach Levine. I think DeAndre Hunter. They should have looked into a DeAndre Hunter,
yeah,
Bojan Bogdanovic kind of move that I think could have done some things, but there wasn't the best of options. So I wonder if they kind of thought
yeah,
if this team falls short, maybe we'll go into the offseason understanding that we do need to change up this core and
yeah.
that they might have a better idea of who's available. And we'll get into those names at some point. I don't know at this
Yeah.
point, but
I do
we're,
think
we're
that
gonna
might happen
yeah.
though. I think like
Oh,
if we
absolutely,
underperform in the
absolutely.
playoffs, I be ready to get rid of like MPJ or someone like that.
I
Like I don't think there's any
preview
way
of
we
a
can keep with this.
preview of a little bit
It,
of a take that we'll have after this break. I think some serious things will happen
Yeah.
if they fall short. All right, Pat, we're gonna go into our second break. You got a DK
did
read
it?
that we can do real quick.
Yeah, I mean, did PK's DK get voided with Jokic sitting?
You had Jokic all over the slate, and I think they yeah. R.I.P. Man. I think it would have hit too. I think it
Really.
would have hit too. That's a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, so going into PK's DK, I mean, I won't do the whole ad read, but um, basically using DraftKings, I cooked up a 4-leg parlay that started plus 214, and I used a profit boost to get it up to 268. It was Jokic to get a triple double, one plus made threes, and then the other two, which aside from the void, I don't even know what the payout will end up being. 5+ Stephen Curry assists, and then uh, over 110 and a half Nuggets alternate total points. And so that leg for the Nuggets alternate over, I was actually pretty confident in that, just because in the
I
last
think those
15
would have been
games,
winners, man.
I do, especially because in the last 15 games, the Nuggets have scored 110 or more, as well as, I mean, Jokic, I feel like, usually plays pretty well against the Warriors, and so that's why I kind of centered all of my picks around Jokic. And he's going for his 30th triple double this season, which would have been his career single season high. But I
It's
mean,
now
He's been
it's
at
now
that mark for a
sitting
little bit now.
it's now sitting at
I hope.
minus 144.
Hmm,
yeah. So I mean, we should be able to cash with
gotcha.
Curry 5+ assists, and then Nuggets on the over 110 and a half. So screw it.
It's all right. We'll try next week. There we're gonna look ahead at the schedule for the Nuggets. They do play again Monday night next week. They love playing on our nights that we record. We're gonna come out now of our break and we're gonna go to segment 3 and we're gonna look ahead. All right. So guys, there's 14 games left this season, as we mentioned earlier. They have an away stand coming up. They have Golden State tonight. They have the Lakers in LA on Wednesday. They're at Portland on Friday, and they're at on Sunday. They're at Houston, and then next week on Monday they play the Bulls back in Denver. But that's the homestand. This is brutal to me. We'll see what happens tonight. Obviously, they don't have Jokic, Jamal, and CB, so I'm not feeling great about that game. But the Lakers one scares me, as we mentioned, because LeBron might be coming back. The Portland one scares me because that's just a young, scrappy team that's going to play hard. It can catch you off guard. And then Houston, same thing. I mean, they're actually good, but they're also just full of a bunch of young guys that are scrappy, wanting to win. They're fighting for their lives, you know. To me, we'd be lucky to go 2-2 this week. But any thoughts on some of those games that are coming up?
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
nervous.
I am nervous as well. But I mean, we said that last week was statement week. But if you get embarrassed in statement week, the following week is kind of statement week, right? And so you got these
Redemption.
matchups, redemption week. I like that. So it's redemption week, right? And you got the a good Golden State team that it'll be a good matchup, and we're not projected to win this game by any means, especially with Jokic and some of our big guys sitting. But if we do somehow pull it out, that'd be a huge statement win. Um, as far as things that need to change, I mean, just overall effort and intensity. I feel like last week we lost the effort game, in all 3 of those games. Like even though we did win one of those 3 games, I feel like we went 0-3 last week. And so that's the
didn't feel
biggest
good.
thing did not feel good. And I just feel like the biggest thing is like effort. We got outplayed in all 3 of those games, especially against the worst team in the NBA, the Washington Wizards. 2 of their 15 wins are against the Denver Nuggets, and that is just unacceptable. So I feel like and as we're
Disgusting.
calling it, it's disgusting. And so like this is redemption week. Let's show. And I think there's a few games on national television. Like tonight we're against, or tonight we're on ESPN against the Warriors. So I mean, yeah, as Matt said,
Wednesday night
Wednesday
too?
we're on
Okay.
ESPN as well. So
Yep.
I mean, this exactly redemption week. We're on the national stage. Let's show who we are. Let's prove it.
Yeah.
I mean, let's do it. Come on.
Yeah.
What do you want to see, Ev?
Yeah. So, by the way, Cam, they play in Portland when you all are in town.
I was gonna say, should we go see Portland, get some boots on the ground, and do some live reporting?
We could.
Oh, yeah.
It's perfectly doable. I've done that before. But
We
so
could
to
do it.
expand on that, as you all know, I lived in Portland for a bit of a time, and I saw the Nuggets play there in our championship year. And Portland, was hot garbage at the time. And while we were playing, like Nuggets just killed. They dominated. And even to the point where like the Portland fans sitting in front of me were like just laughing at it. They were like, "Oh my God, we suck. We're so bad." And they found it funny for that reason. And that was a pure show of dominance and like just everything working perfectly together. Jokic was tearing it up, and even the fans were they were laughing at how helpless they were, right? So I think this week, I really like the redemption week. I think that's perfect. I think we need to have a statement win with LA. I think we need to reestablish our position. I mean, easier said than done, right? But I think we really need to do something to show that like we're awake. And then against Portland, you have to win and you have to dominate.
Gotta
So
win.
if we go to that game on Friday, I want the fans in Portland to just be beaten down and like helpless to the force of like Jokic and our starting 5, just tearing it up. So I guess it's maybe a tall order, but I really do think like
It's
I look at the
doable,
rest
man. We know this team.
yeah. I look at the
The
rest of
roller
their
coaster
schedule, too.
season.
Yeah, and the rest of the schedule like is not gonna be easy. I think we have to make
Oh,
a statement, make
it's
a
tough,
strong
man.
statement. Yeah. So
I was gonna say
That's
what,
awesome.
and we're gonna wrap up here. We're about to be done. We got 14 games left. To me, if they go. The only thing that could make me feel better about where they're going this season into the playoffs is like a serious like 10-4 run, like 11-3 run. I hate to kind of be the negative guy on this right now, but the Nuggets are just not looking like the same team anymore. And I think future shows will be talking about what they should do if we fall short in the playoffs. But that's going to do it for us today. Guys, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad we got K-Bear on here. That was a nice little surprise. Evan, we're celebrating the St. Patty's Day. Everybody's got their green on.
the Wash Kings went
Thanks for
international
listening.
today.
The Wash Kings went international. We're doing a lot of travel recently, I've noticed.
I'll
So,
be in Italy
thanks
next
for
week too.
Oh my God, dude! If you could try to join on for like one segment, I don't know how late it's going to be, but we'll
I'll
see.
try to.
For real.
We'll see. For real. All right, fellas. That was a good time. Any closing thoughts before we head out?
No, I mean, let's I just really hope the Nuggets prove us wrong. I mean, we're a little bit down
Prove
on
us
them right
wrong.
now, but I mean, we're fans of the Nuggets. Just prove us wrong, and we'll root for you regardless.
It's the ride that a fan takes, right?
I'm gonna be optimistic.
Absolutely.
Next week we'll be singing a different tune. Let's see it
We're
happen.
Redemption
back.
week.
We're back.
Redemption week.
Redemption
We'll
week.
be
All
back.
right.
It's
Thanks
redemption week.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Subscribe.
Check us out. Watch Kings. Subscribe, like. Thank you.